Hi, True Avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is episode 49, and I am your host, Zoe Wild. I am a transgender and bisexual woman, and my pronouns are she, her. So, as I'm sure you're not too surprised about this, for the first half of the episode, it's just me again. But before I get into all the subject matter and content of the episode, I have some podcast news to share. So, about a year ago now, or almost a year ago, I started this podcast. I started this podcast because I noticed there was no real consistent space for queer gamers to kind of not even for queer gamers to just listen to something, have a place where there's constant, consistent, up-to-date queer news and queer relevant news, queer adjacent news. Sometimes I talk about stuff that kind of affects all gamers. It's more like the woke podcast sometimes than it is just and I say that endearingly. I don't think woke is the slur that the other side uses it as. But anyway, I started this podcast because I wanted to get back into content creation. I wanted something that was mine, and I wanted to create a safe space for queer gamers to have something consistent, steady, weekly to listen to come in and just catch up on all the queer happenings of the video game world, because there wasn't anything that was going on that was consistent at the time I created the podcast. There were podcasts that were updated occasionally. There are podcasts that were weekly and then got canceled or ended. So basically, yeah, I created True Avatars, and at the time I didn't even know what I wanted to call the podcast. I just kind of on a whim called it True Avatars, because I was well, video games have avatars, and we are our true avatars, both in real life but also in being ourselves, both in real life and through these games. So a true avatar is who you really are, right? How we present ourselves to the world. Anyway, all that is to say is that because it's almost been a year, there's gonna be an anniversary episode coming up. So, we're gonna do an episode on that, talking about kind of not so much of the history, but just we'll do something fun that week. It'll be less focused on news and all the BS in the world that's going on, as you're going to hear in the news this week too, that there's been some more of that stuff. But also, even bigger news is that when I originally started the podcast, I made it audio because I'm a video editor. So I didn't want to every week have to edit more videos. I was well, a podcast, an audio podcast, will be simpler to edit, quicker, and less stressful. I'm tripping over myself. Less stressful for me. But, currently, I am collaborating with a few people who have collaborated on the podcast before for the front end stuff, not so much the content creation, but the visuals, the music. And so it might just be a video podcast launching very, very soon, maybe even just in time for the 1 year anniversary. So if you've ever been curious to see all my guest faces, or most of them anyway, you will have that opportunity very, very soon. I've also commissioned an updated version of the theme song from Diana, who's doing the music currently for the show. I have a new logo in the works from the person who did the original logo and key art, and that is Nicole. She is working on that currently, and also there's going to be some new key art for the thumbnail, for, the banners on all the social media, and that is being designed by Lloyd Lloydster, who's also a regular on the show. So all that stuff is currently in the works. And again, I can't guarantee this will be the date, but around the 1 year anniversary is when the video podcast should be launching. And that's when the rebranding will happen too. There'll be the new logo, the new key art, the new music. So hopefully soon, unless, obviously if something goes wrong, we'll have to delay it. But for right now, it looks like the September 22nd episode, which is exactly on the 1 year anniversary, because the way it worked out is I wasn't consistently releasing episodes on the same day each week. So it works out that episode 52, it should be episode 52, barring again anything, will be the 1 year anniversary, and the 1 year anniversary will also be the launch of all the rebranding, the video podcasts, and everything. So look forward to that. Yeah, I didn't want to really say anything official, but I have the logo, the finished logo. I have the finished music. The key art is getting there. Lloyd's really close with it. I've seen some of the assets. It's beautiful. So, I do think that all these assets will be ready in time for the video podcast launch on September 22nd. So look forward to that. Again, barring any possible delays. It's, we're this is all in our free time and our spare time. We're all kind of volunteers here. So, or at least I am. So, yeah, anyway. It's been a long summer. It's been a busy summer. I was hoping to have this stuff actually ready earlier, but all the delays were not because of any of the people I commissioned. It was actually because of me generally not getting back with feedback on these deliverables. So, yeah, September 22nd. Look forward to that. Anyway, with all that podcast housekeeping out of the way and then the update, so again, we're jumping into the podcast now. So, what I've been playing this week is not going to be part of the show in the usual sense that I talk about it for 10 minutes at the start. I actually have been playing Metal Gear Solid Delta. So in the second half of the episode, I will be inviting Betty and her partner Keenan on to talk about that. We're going to compare notes because they haven't played the new game just yet, but I have, and I haven't played the original, and they have. So we're going to compare Metal Gear Solid Delta to Metal Gear Solid 3, and don't worry, it will be mostly spoiler-free. If there's any spoilers that come up, we will note them. I am not that far into the game because it just came out, but I will be talking about that with them in the second half for the main segment. But first up, I will actually be talking about, in place of the What We've Been Playing short segment, because this episode is coming out on September 1st and it's the beginning of the fall season. It's not fall yet specifically, but it's almost fall. September 1st is always the beginning of like the new TV season, all the wave of like fall and holiday video games. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through what games are coming out for the rest of the year to look forward to, because also that's when a lot of the big games come out too, although this year's already been pretty busy. So I'll be talking about that. I'll just, be talking about like what games they are, a little bit about them, a little bit about my thoughts, and then, the platforms and release date. Without getting too much in the weeds, because we're just going to talk about that, or I'm just going to talk about that stuff, there's also some news headlines. So some big game publishers are up to some gross AI shenanigans. I'm sure you can guess kind of where we're going with this, but, there's a couple pieces of news there. PlayStation and Xbox have also updated their services in a good way for once, and I will get into specifics later, but I'm just keeping it vague for now. Stardew Valley has kind of a big announcement. A queer game was shadowdropped this week. And there has been, unfortunately, another update on the payment processor, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, all that situation. So it'll just be me for this week covering that little bit of news, but it's kind of like, it's only one or two little like headlines. They're not little, but like it's, anyway, we'll talk about it. We'll get there. Before jumping into all of that stuff, this has been kind of a long intro and I apologize for that, but I do have a few quick favors to ask of you, as I do every week, True Avatars. If you like this podcast, please leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. Spotify has ratings and comments, and Apple has reviews, but they don't have ratings and comments. It's weird. I think you can rate and review on Apple. Anyway, it's a little strange, but engagement, like comments, ratings, reviews, helps to grow the podcast. And, especially with the video version coming soon, growth is, I'm hoping the video podcast will also help reach people on YouTube more, because the version that's on YouTube right now is just like the podcast thumbnail with the audio feed, so it doesn't really work with the algorithm. So I'm hoping the video version will help with that as well. But also, I do need your help, True Avatars, because a growing podcast means a happy podcast host who is forever happy and fulfilled that you enjoy listening to my show. And that creates an infinite feedback loop of more podcast episodes and more growth and more happiness. So please go leave a comment, rating, or review. Or all three if you can. And also, please follow True Avatars, a queer video game podcast, on social media. There are accounts on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and YouTube, and also TikTok. As soon as the video version is out, there'll be more TikTok content. I've just been waiting for visuals to kind of aid that as well. Anyway, and that's all at True Avatars, and you can also find the podcast on the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com, no spaces. And remember, this is a weekly queer video game podcast, so check in every week. I aim to bring you news, interviews, and up-to-date discussions that are relevant to queer gamers, so you have a safe space to check in on the world of gaming from a 2S LGBTQIA+ lens. And there may or may not be another interview coming up very soon that you might want to check in on. All right, so fall queer games. Like all the games that are coming out September, October, November, December, that we know of. There's a few games that are like kind of like slated for this year, but there's no specific release date. I'll mention a few of those at the end. But like there's so many of those that like I don't want to get into too much in the weeds with all of them, because that would be its own segment. And I really just want to be this quick kind of a little update, because we're going to cover some of these games in future episodes as they come out. But I just wanted to kind of like give you a heads up on like all the stuff coming out, because like there's AAAs and there's indies. Like it's going to be a good fall for queer games. I promise. Like we're looking at a good lineup here. So first up, on September 8th, which is 1 week after this podcast releases, Quality Dreams Reasonably Priced. I did interview the dev back in, I want to say episode 28. And so go back and check that out if you're interested in this game. But Quality Dreams Reasonably Priced is a visual novel set in the dystopian future in an underground civilization where they don't really see sunlight. And so in this game, you are tasked with, like, you work for a body mod shop, and you are tasked with interviewing all the potential clients and seeing if they are a good fit for the body mods they want. You're essentially kind of a gatekeeper a little bit. And it's up to you, the player, to actually like listen to their reasoning and listen to their story and decide like, hey, should this person get this body mod? And some of these body mods are very simple, and others are like very like specific to transgender and, you know, gender affirming things. So and also you have to, this choice is weighed too, because you also need to make money. For every client you bring in, you make money, and you need to save your pet rabbit who needs a treatment at the vet, or they will die. So yeah, anyway, this game looks great. I played the demo. There may or may not be a review next week in next week's episode. So look forward to that. And yeah, it's coming to Steam and Itch on September 8th. That is Quality Dreams Reasonably Priced. Next up is Ratatan. And this game is not really confirmed to be queer, but the devs are definitely allies. And Ratatan is the spiritual successor to Patapon. I've never played Patapon, so I really can't talk too much about it, but it is a rhythm game that's also kind of a side scroller. And so I think it's even being made by some of the devs that worked on Patapon once upon a time. So, and it's coming to Switch 1, PS5, Xbox Series, and Steam. And the date it is coming is September 18th. And that is Ratatan, the spiritual successor to Patapon. A day after Ratatan, on September 19th, is Wander Stars. And this is an 80s, 90s anime-inspired RPG where your words are your attacks. So I've previously talked about this game in another episode, I think back in June, in one of the June episodes. When there's all the wave of announcements and stuff like that. But the Steam description reads as follows. Unleash custom attacks by combining words in this super anime turn-based RPG. Collect all 200 words, earn pep-ups from honorable victories, and become a Kiai Master. Befriend your rivals, uncover dark mysteries, and seek out the pieces of the Wander Star map in a wild race across the universe. So this looks adorable. Like, the art style specifically reminds me, like, the main character actually reminds me a lot of Ranma from Ranma 1/2. And you know what? It honestly just looks really charming. I didn't get a chance to actually sit down with the demo back in June. It looks like the demo is still up though. So this might be something when I have a chance to get to it, but it looks really cool because I like the idea of combining your words, right? Like you have punches and then you have like you can choose the word punch or the word kick, and then you can choose like the word fire, and you can get like a fire kick or a fire punch. So it's kind of similar. Like some of the attacks might end up being similar to Pokemon, but like I think it's really cool that you can just kind of like power up your attacks by combining words. I just think it's a really interesting idea, and the art style is like really pretty. Like it looks like hand-drawn anime. Yeah, it looks gorgeous. I think this is one that's going to be really popular. And so this comes out on September 19th. It is called Wander Stars, and it is coming to Switch 1, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. And note, whenever I say Xbox Series, that includes X and S. I just don't want to say that every time. On September 25th, the week after that, is Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Not a queer game, but has a huge queer fan base. And sometimes I cover games that have queer following, but not necessarily queer content. And so Sonic Racing Crossworlds is basically Sonic's answer to Mario Kart. And this game looks a lot different than Mario Kart World, which just came out, where that game is kind of open world. The kart racing has changed a little bit. So this Sonic Racing Crossworlds is much more traditional Mario Kart, if you want to compare it to that. Like, we're talking like Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the classics, you know? And it's going to have a lot of crossover DLC, which is really cool. But it's called Crossworlds because in each track, when you drive, halfway through the track, you get to pick a portal, and the person in first place gets to pick the portal, and then you go to a different track to race there. And then you race through that track, and then you come back to the first track again to finish it up. It looks really cool. I got to play the open beta back in I want to say February or March, maybe April. But anyway, I think there's an open beta on right now for this week. I don't know if it's still on when this podcast comes out, but I think you can just literally go on any of these platforms, Switch 1, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, or PC, and just download it and play a bit. Obviously the content will be a little bit limited since it's an open beta, but the game does come out September 25th, and there is a Switch 2 version coming later, and that is Sonic Racing Crossworlds. On October 2nd, the week after, it seems like every week we have an amazing new queer game coming out, and this is Ghost of Yotei. Ghost of Yotei is the follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima from 2018 or 2019. So it's like feudal Japan, samurai swords, you're off on an adventure. And Ghost of Yote is the sequel. It doesn't really have any connection aside from gameplay style. Story-wise, there's not really much of a connection. But the main character this time is a woman, and this character is played by Erika Ishii, who is a gender-fluid, all-pronouns actor who is playing the lead character. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of queer content in the actual game itself. I'm sure this actor, Erika Ishii, will be bringing some of that content to their performance, but just like inherently. But the fact that there's a non-binary, or rather, I guess gender fluid is the correct term, person playing a lead character in it, like Sony's big AAA game of the year, is a big deal. And I'm very excited for this. Not only does the game look amazing, but also just the fact that, like, again, a queer actor is like in the lead role is kind of amazing. And that's coming to PS5, and I would have to guess at some later date it's coming to PC, although that has not been officially announced. But the way Sony's been releasing games, like they even put Spider-Man 2 on PC. Like if Spider-Man 2 made it to PC that soon after it released, like I'm pretty sure Ghost of Yote is coming. If I had to guess, like probably next fall, so like 2026. So if you don't have a PS5 but you want to play it and you have a PC, there will be a chance later. Although I doubt this ever comes to anything besides, like maybe Switch 2, maybe if Sony ever opens up the floodgates for Nintendo stuff. But the way they're treating Xbox, I don't think they're going to do Xbox. And that's Ghost of Yote on October 2nd. October 10th is Nomia. This is a roguelike deck builder mashed up with a tactical RPG. The Steam description reads as follows. Play 2 heroes at once in this story-rich tactics roguelike. Set up combos with your reliable action cards or execute master strokes by drawing the right gambit cards. Combine martial and magical might to chart a path through the dream left behind by the shattered sculptor of humankind. So, this was a game I was going to cover. I don't think I actually talked about it in the podcast where I was covering the Press Gay to Play showcase, mainly because I couldn't read the name of the game when they showed it. Like the way the logo was designed, it wasn't immediately obvious to me that it was like Nomia. I thought it was like Alomia. So I wasn't sure. So because I literally could not find the Steam page because the Press Gay to Play showcase, unfortunately, did not have like any links to any of the games. Like they didn't have any kind of like description, show notes, nothing like that. So actually I was going to do an article on the blog, which I have not, and hopefully there's blog content coming soon too, but I can't, literally it's just an issue of time at this point. But anyway, I did actually catalog all these, and I was going to put up a quick blog post with all the links to the showcase. I can still do that. I just literally haven't gotten around to it. Because there was a lot of games in it. So I did go through and do all the work and find all these games eventually, but it just slipped my mind with all the moving and stuff that I was doing this summer. It's just so busy. Anyway, Nomia looks great. It looks like Fire Emblem meets like a roguelike deck builder. Like it looks like Fire Emblem meets Hades kind of in a little bit of a way. Not subject matter wise, but just like visually. And this is coming October 10th from Magnesium Ninja. And I think the platforms are Steam and itch. So no consoles yet, but Steam and itch it will be available on. And that is Nomia. Nomia. The week after that, we just have queer games every week, is Pokemon Legends ZA. Now, Pokemon Legends ZA is not inherently a queer game, although the Pokemon community is like, there's a lot of queer people in the Pokemon community and Pokemon fans in general. However, this game is a sequel to Pokemon X and Y, which is famous for having the trans woman X karate person. So anyway, maybe she'll show up in this game. Maybe she won't. We don't know. I personally doubt it. But anyway, I'm considering this a queer game in all sense of the word. It's Pokemon. It's a sequel to Legends Arceus in a sense, like a gameplay style, not story. In this game, you throw your Pokeball in the overworld. Your Pokemon follow you around. It's close to as a Final Fantasy action RPG as we're going to get for Pokemon. So like you have to follow your Pokemon around the battlefield. The moves are no longer, it's no longer turn-based. Like it's real-time battles. And the Pokemon, they follow you around and all the moves have cooldowns. So like you can spam all 4 moves at the start of the battle, but then you gotta wait for them all to cool down. And then also you build up your Mega Evolution gauge, and then you can Mega Evolve, and there's like all these new Mega Evolutions. Like I think so far, they've revealed Mega Dragonite and Mega Victory Bell, so I assume there's gonna be more as well. And this comes October 16th. It is Pokemon Legends ZA, and it is coming to Switch 1 and Switch 2. I have a pre-order for Switch 2 already, so anyway. So the week after that, there actually isn't a queer game, unfortunately. But the week after that, so 2 weeks after Legends ZA, on October 29th is Outer Worlds 2. Now, Outer Worlds 1, don't know a ton about these games, to be honest, but Outer Worlds 1 had a lot of queer NPCs and a lot of like storylines in the side quests, so I'm hoping Outer Worlds 2 does as well, but it remains to be seen, and this game is coming October 29th, it's Outer Worlds 2, it's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. the week after that is actually, it makes up for the lack of that 1 week in October where there was no queer games, because on November 6th, there are actually 2 queer games coming out. The first one is Unbeatable, which is the Scott Pilgrim Kill la Kill-esque hand-drawn art style rhythm game. Yeah, and anyway, from the website, experience what it means to be a band on the run. Music is illegal in this world, but you won't let that stop you. Follow Beat and her bandmates through their journey of self-discovery, blending live song performances, spectacular set pieces, and quirky rhythm minigames. So, I did play the demo for this. This game is really hard. I don't know if it was just like an issue with like an early demo build, or if I'm just bad at it. I know Ekami also had similar issues with the timing of the button presses. Again, I could just be bad at game. Like, it could be as simple as that. But I thought the art style was really cool. I think it needed a little bit of quality of life improvements, just because like whenever you lost a battle, you got reset out to kind of like the starting area instead of like just before the battle. Which I wasn't a fan of because I kept losing. So I had to keep like walking back, and it became a bit of a slog. So I did give up on it, but I did go into like just the free play, and I played that for like an hour, and it was amazing. So I think this game is going to be really special. It's going to be really popular. And, I do plan to have a whole episode dedicated to this when it comes out, because Cleo, is also a backer of the original game on Kickstarter. Or originally of the game on Kickstarter. So hopefully, we'll have that on November 6th. Barring, I guess, any potential delays. But yeah, and this game is coming to not basically everything. It's PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. It feels like a game that's going to come to Switch too. Like, it feels like the kind of game that belongs on like a Nintendo console. But yeah, it's called Unbeatable. It's coming November 6th to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Also on November 6th is a game that isn't queer per se, but its sequels heavily imply a queer storyline for the main character that's in all the games, and this is Siberia Remastered. The series is kind of a low-key lesbian coming out journey, but again, the first game, not explicitly so, but because it's part of a series, I think it's kind of worth bringing up. And it comes November 6th. It's kind of like a point-and-click adventure game. The Steam page reads as follows: to rediscover the clockwork of the clockpunk universe of Benoit Sokol in this fully remastered version of the first Siberia game. Join Kate Walker and Oscar, a strange and charming automaton, in pursuit of the brilliant inventor Hans Vorarlberg, and embark on an adventure more immersive and poetic than ever. So I mean, this is like not a full price game, but it is like a studio game, so it's a little expensive. I don't know if I'm going to pick this up at launch. But the remaster does look really good. This is a game I really want to play. And then it's also one of those games where like, oh, I'd really like to have the sequels remastered like right after to kind of jump into like all 3 of them. It's like a Metroid Prime situation, because they didn't do Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remastered. So anyway, hopefully if it does well, we'll get the other games and they'll complete the queer saga. But anyway, it comes November 6th. It's Siberia Remastered. It is based on a game, I think, from I want to say late 90s. And it's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. No Switch port announced yet. I feel like it's going to be coming to Switch 2 at some point. It feels like the kind of game that would also really do well on there. I mean, any queer game should come to Switch, because, like, let's be honest, most of us fruits really love the Switch, if we're being honest. So anyway, November 13th, don't worry, the weekly games continue. We have Love at the Milky Way Diner, which is basically, I don't want to, this isn't meant to diminish, but to compare it, it's like a sugary version of like, and I mean visually sugary, version of like Coffee Talk. Because like it's a game where you make drinks, you run a diner in space, but all the characters are much more explicitly queer. I think Ekami did play the demo for this way back, and I want to say in the last Steam Next Fest episode, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like Ekami did play the demo on this, and I'm really excited for this, although I'm going to wait for the full game. And it's coming to Steam and Itch on November 13th, and that's called Love at the Milky Way Diner. On November 19th, this game was delayed. I think it was supposed to be coming out this week or next, or at least very soon, but Demon School, a game that is, again, not confirmed to be queer, but, I mean, the key art is literally the bisexual flag, so if it's not queer in some way, I would be absolutely shocked. Anyway, Demon School is coming November 19th, and from the website, Demon School is a new style tactics RPG where motion equals action. Defeat big weirdos in between the human and demon worlds as Faye and her misfit companions while navigating university life on a mysterious island. Yeah, this game looks like it's going to be really popular. It was back in the, when they did the Indie Direct in Japan, the Nintendo Indie Direct. It was in that Direct there, but not here, which is strange. Yeah, it looks great. It's got a cute, like, pixel art, like, high-quality pixel art style. It's got this like top-down visual. Even all the like the battles look bisexual to me. Like it's got bisexual lighting everywhere. So hopefully there's some queerness to it because it looks great. And then again, so it was supposed to come out next week, but it's actually coming out November 19th. That's Demon School, and it's coming to Switch 1, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, PC, Mac, and Linux. I assume it'll probably eventually come to Switch 2 as well, but it will be available there through backwards compatibility, as will most games, unless there's some compatibility issue that they haven't worked out at launch. And so, got two more games that are, well, kind of two more games. Kirby Air Riders comes out the day after Demon School on November 20th. Kirby Air Riders is a Kirby game, which again, it's not necessarily an inherently queer game, but there's a lot of queer people that enjoy Kirby, especially people on this podcast that love Kirby. So I'm qualifying it. We're going to do a whole episode on Kirby Air Riders when it comes out, but this is basically like Mario Kart, but Kirby. But honestly, to me, this is no shade on Mario Kart. I have my problems with World, but like, I still think it's a good game. But like Kirby Air Riders is like my jam. Kirby Air Ride as a kid, like I didn't even play City Trial. I just went around the open world of City Trial, like for hours, just doing whatever. Me and my friends, me and my little brother, we would like, create little stories, be like, oh, I'm going to the mall. And then I'd get, Kirby's like little, washing machine car. And I'd go to like a building and I'd explore the building, or I'd go underground, or, ride the train rails around the city. It was really fun. So I'm really looking forward to this. And it looks like Sakurai has really, the director, Masahiro Sakurai, has really like enhanced this game. It's like there's a lot more playable characters. They can all ride all carts now, and they can also all have Kirby's like suck up power mechanic. So it looks great. It comes on November 20th, and it's only on Switch 2. But it looks amazing. Like if you don't have a Switch 2 and you're planning to get one, this is a game I think you're going to want to pick up, because if it's anything like the original, and it already looks better than the original, this is going to be something special. And there's one more undated game, but it is set for November at some point. It's called Heartspell Horizon Academy. From the Steam description, match gems, level up, and date wizards in this match 3 visual novel with a lot of heart and a little spice. From deep relationships with fairies, sirens, and werewolves, each with their own endearing personalities and challenges. Make choices that affect your relationships and their destinies. It's reminiscent of the game I just reviewed, Matchmaker Dungeon Heart. Another match 3 game. It's got, monsters in it. I think the story is significantly less dire for the characters than Matchmaker. But if it's anything like Matchmaker, this game is bound to be amazing. So I'm really excited for it. Again, it doesn't have a release date in November. It just says November on Steam, and I'm pretty sure it's just coming to Steam as far as I know. And it's called Heartspell Horizon Academy. So yeah, another match 3 dating, RPG visual novel type thing. Very similar, but like, again, I think it's just different enough in visuals and tone to be really exciting. And also I can never get enough of match 3 games. Like, I just think that's really cool. And also every time I do a creative project, there's always someone who's doing something similar anyway. It just happens that way. So support both games. And then, so I'm going to wrap this up, but there's a couple undated games here that I want to give honorable mentions to. I'm not going to talk about them in depth. I'm just going to kind of list them. Some of them I've definitely talked about all these on the podcast before, some in depth with interviews, others not so much, but these are all supposed to come out before the end of the year. And again, most of these are indie games, or at least lower budget games. So if they don't come out, don't at me, don't at them, games take time, be respectful. But anyway, so Frame of Mind, A Game of Thoughts, which I did an interview with the dev. Building Relationships, who I also had an interview with the dev. Those are both supposed to be coming to, I'm actually not sure what platforms. I'm blanking on the platforms right now. But anyway, if you look them up, I'm sure the platforms will come up. But they're supposed to be due before the end of the year. And also Coffee Talk Tokyo, Usual June, and Winter Burrow. So all kinds of different games. Usual June is actually giving me like Life is Strange vibes a little bit, but with more combat. So I think that's pretty cool. Coffee Talk is obviously Coffee Talk. Like, you can't go wrong there. And then there's Winter Burrow as well, which is about this cute little mouse. And I think it's like a sort of top-down like survival game, I want to say. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the fall lineup, like the holiday lineup. I'm like torn between calling it like the fall lineup, the holiday lineup, like it's like the end of the year thing. Like, these are all the games that are going to release, and I'm sure there's going to be games in December as well. We don't know when Hyrule Warriors is coming out, but that definitely is a queer game that might be coming out by the end of the year. And it's definitely queer because we know that it is completely confirmed to be canon that Link and Zelda are both transgender. So anyway, it's just a fact. All right, it's news time. Okay, so got lots of headlines today. PlayStation has made refunds easier on their digital store. So if you've ever bought a game on the PlayStation Store, you've wanted to refund it, now you can easily request. I know I have had a game refunded before, but it was kind of a pain in the ass. So now you can actually just like go to like a certain page, and I'll explain how later, but you can go to the page, click request refund, and if you haven't, now there's some caveats. You can't have downloaded the game, let alone play it, and it has to be within 14 days of purchase. And you can only do this on the mobile app. However, the fact that there's an option at all to just like request the refund and like a button that's like literally just request refund is kind of a big deal. Given that I had to jump on a chat with an employee and like explain why I wanted the refund and all these other things. Now that they give you this button, despite how, much of a pain in the ass it is, it's still better than nothing, right? So, and like Steam has something similar, but you can have played out the game for up to 2 hours, and you can just request a refund, and it's pretty much no questions asked. Anyway, the instructions. You open up the PS app and make sure it's obviously the latest version. Go to the PS Store. Hit the menu button in the PlayStation Store at the top of the screen. It looks like 3 horizontal lines. Hit the transaction history option. It should be the last option in the menu. Tap any purchase and choose the request refund option, and that comes from PlayStationLifestyle.net for explaining that. Xbox Cloud Gaming is now available if you have Game Pass Core or Game Pass Standard. Now, Game Pass Core is what Xbox Live used to be, and they rebranded, I think, last year. And so Game Pass Standard is also like the base Game Pass, what used to be the base Game Pass option. Like if you just want games on your Xbox, no fancy bells and whistles, you just want access to the library, that's Game Pass Standard. So Xbox Cloud Gaming lets you stream games to any device with a screen that can pair a controller, right? So like, let's say you can't download the games or run the games on the hardware. Now you don't have to worry about it. You can stream the games via Xbox Cloud. Previously you had to have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is like the top tier of Game Pass. Like it comes with the PC, it comes with the Xbox, it comes with all the bells and whistles, which is the most expensive version. And now the cheaper versions have this option as well. So if you just have a TV and you want to go out and buy a controller and pair your TV to your controller and stream games, that's great. So this is great for accessibility, but the downside is it's bad for game ownership, because I think you can even buy games that you've streamed, or stream games that you've bought, sorry. Unfortunately, though, like, do you really own a digital game, but also a game that you can't even download and install and keep to play offline? It's a gray area. Like, it's a really, really gray area. I don't know that I'm a fan of it, but this is great for accessibility. If you just want to play a game and you have Game Pass and all you have is a screen and a controller, this is awesome. So there has been some turmoil at the Candy Crush maker team company place, King, this week. So back in episode 43, we discussed that King staff was laid off, and King, they make Candy Crush Saga. They were laid off after, some of the team was laid off after unknowingly training the AI models that replaced them. So if you want to hear more about that, you can go back and check out that episode. But the website that broke the story is also the website that breaks this story, mobilegamer.biz. And they wrote, "For the last 6 weeks, we've been speaking to multiple King staff affected by the layoffs announced in July. They claim some staff are taking legal action over their severance packages. The cuts were apparently made with no consideration for staff performance. The layoffs were haphazard. Some staff have been rehired within weeks of being laid off," which is, I guess, is good news, but still messy. Toxic managers investigated by workplace ethics teams. Some multiple times saw no repercussions. Yikes. The cuts to the bloated workforce don't go far enough, said one manager who expects more. Microsoft says all staff, and this is the part that shocks me, it's all shocking, but this is like really strange. Microsoft says that all staff must use AI daily, but adoption is low, and even King leadership is skeptical. Continuing the quote here, "The goal for last year, if I recall correctly, was having a 70 or 80% daily usage of AI on general tasks. And the goal for this year was to get up to 100%, so that every artist, designer, developer, even managers have to use it on a daily basis." End quote. And apparently the devs only want to use ChatGPT, but none of the other tools. So, this mandatory AI usage, just, first off, if it wasn't already discouraging that some staff were laid off, and they were laid off after training their replacements as AI models, but also if people are required to use AI models for everything in their jobs, who's to say they're not also training their replacements? So, I mean, this is all disgusting. Again, it seems like every week there's a layoff story or an AI story. And we've got more AI stuff coming up too. Like there's another story here that's just kind of disgusting, but yeah, like first off, AI is bad. Like I think we can all agree that like even if you don't care about the fact that AI is like stealing from artists and taking away human creativity, it's bad for the environment. I think it's really bad for the environment. I don't know a ton about this. I haven't done a ton of research into it, but it's just what I've heard in passing is that it uses a lot of water, like a lot of water. I think from like how it has like all the cooling that it has to do. Maybe it's the energy generation. I'm not 100% sure. I just know that it's really bad for the environment because of the water usage. So increasing this means that Microsoft's footprint is getting worse. But also the fact that like even the management, the like management that like expects cuts, the management that's like kind of like spearheading all this, like even they're kind of questioning Microsoft at this point. And then there's the poor staff that they're not even doing like what they used to be doing. Now they're just like using AI for 70, 80% and the expectation of 100%. So like they're just writing prompts all day. That can't be good for morale because like now you're not even like doing the creative part. You're just fighting with the learning language model to like get it to do what you want it to do when you already have the skills and the tools to do it yourself. And then again, yeah, the idea that maybe because you're doing this, you're training the AI to do your job for you. And then suddenly the entirety of like King is going to be laid off. And then Candy Crush Saga is just going to be run by AI models forever. Does that mean like no humans will be running it? Or there'll just be like a handful of humans kind of like shepherding all the AI stuff that's being made? How much of it is like truly automated where like there's no one even like deciding what the content will be that's being added to the game? It's just like the AI is deciding everything based on everything it's learned about the game and the workers who made it. Like I don't even know anymore. Like what is even happening at Microsoft? What is even happening in the world right now? Okay, so that's one AI story. If it gets worse. This is unrelated to this specific story, but it's definitely AI. So, a streamer's likeness has been stolen by AI. So a streamer, and I'm quoting from the article here, which comes from Video Games Chronicle. A streamer has claimed that ads promoting Nexon game The First Descendant are using AI to make it look like he's promoting them. These ads all show a streamer talking about the game, but Reddit user I Hardly Try Hard gathered some of the ads and posted a montage of them, pointing out that all the streamers appear to be voiced by AI. It was then pointed out that the first of the videos in the montage appears to show streamer Daniel the Demon, but his voice appeared to be different. After a story about the clips was posted on Game Central TikTok, Daniel the Demon replied in the comments saying, quote, "I have no affiliation nor contract with the First Descendant. They stole my face/reactions from my most viral video and used AI to change what my mouth says and a voice that isn't mine. I did not consent for my likeness to be used." End quote. So, first off, it's gross that they're using someone else's likeness. But the fact that the voice is different, it makes me wonder, like, okay, were they stealing the likeness, but they messed up the voice? Or were they just like, did something get messed up in the process and like AI just stole the voice or the face? And like, or were they literally trying to like just piggyback off this guy? But if they're trying to piggyback off a streamer by stealing his likeness, why are they not making sure the voice is accurate? Like, I have a lot of questions. And obviously, like, yeah, you can't control everything AI does, but like, there's ways to make I'm not proud that I even know this, but there are ways to make the AI sound like the person whose content is being stolen. So like, if you're going to the effort of stealing the likeness, like why not steal the voice as well? And I'm not encouraging that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But all in all, it doesn't matter because this is gross that they would do that anyway. First off, it's gross that they would even use AI talking heads to promote something. But having seen VO3 content, which is Google's AI video creation model, AI, the way they can just make videos now without even real people talking. There was that whole Will Smith thing too, where like Will Smith's crowd was AI generated. Like they don't even need real people to promote a product anymore. So like it's all AI people, but then there's just like one real person, and it just makes you wonder like what was happening there. And also the First Descendant's like a pretty big game. Like I feel like they have the funds to like not use AI. But again, it's all about saving costs and, you know, making a quick buck. So I'm not surprised. I'm just sad. Like this is the mom answer. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, which is arguably worse. You know, if mom's disappointed, like, you know, you've effed up, right? So anyway, That's about all I have to say about that for now. Some good news though. A queer game was shadowdropped this week. So Fear Effect, the PS1 cult classic, has been shadowdropped on Nintendo Switch, PS5, and Steam. It is available now. For anyone who doesn't know what shadowdropping is, it just means a game was basically given a release date that was the same day that it was announced. So like, hey, it's Thursday. Oh, here's the game. It's available now. Now the game was already kind of announced and I didn't know this. First off, I didn't know this game existed. And also I didn't know this game was getting a remaster. And I even checked Limited Run, who announced that there was a physical copy of it. Not that I want the physical copy, but that they were doing a physical copy. And I didn't even clock that the Fear Effect was on the list. Like I didn't even notice it. So I've never heard of this game before until this week, but I'm intrigued. It sounds great. I didn't even know about the original, like I said. But I looked it up when I heard of it because I was like, I generally, any kind of new game I haven't heard of, I always kind of Google, like, I always just type in, like, this game's title plus LGBT. Sometimes Google is mean and doesn't want to show me information, but this time they did. And there were a lot of threads and discussions and articles about how there is queer content in this game, which I will not spoil specifically what, but this is definitely a queer game. And what's nice about it too is that it's a remaster of this old game, but it's also really cheap. It's $10 US or $14 Canadian. So like there's almost no excuse not to dive into this at full price. For anyone who doesn't know, like me, here's the Steam description. Days before her 18th birthday, the quiet, enigmatic Wee Ming Lam disappears under mysterious circumstances. Hannah, Glass, and Deke, three self-motivated and ruthless mercenaries, I can't speak today, conspire to track her down and ransom her off to her father, Mr. Lam, the most powerful triad leader in Hong Kong, for a large sum of cold, hard cash. What begins as a simple extortion mission to retrieve the young runaway becomes a lesson in survival against the most unimaginable of enemies. Immerse yourself in this intense thriller featuring revolutionary motion effects technology, which I think at the time was also one of the first instances of cell shading. Right around the time that Final Fantasy kind of like started this like boom of full motion video. Where you direct your cast of 3D characters within dynamic, full motion video worlds. Who lives? Who dies? Only you decide if you can control your fear. So yeah, it's available now. It's on, Steam. It's on Nintendo Switch. It's on PS5. Given that it's a pretty old game, I haven't heard of any kind of performance issues on the Switch version. So if handheld is your jam like me, this is probably the place to get it. The only thing stopping me from picking this up right now is time. I have a lot to play, so I don't know if I have time to play this right now, but it is a game I'm very, very interested in, so hopefully I get to play it soon and report back to you guys. Some more good news. Not surprised. I personally don't think this is that surprising, but some people might. It's definitely good news. Stardew Valley is getting more content. It's not just like a patch to fix like things, little holes and bugs and stuff like that. It's like a straight up like I reported earlier this year that, or last year rather, that 1.6 came to Stardew Valley and then eventually, made its way to consoles early this year. Which was a lot more content. It wasn't just like a small update. It was like, here's new features. Well, it looks like Concerned Ape is doing 1.7 now. And he wrote on Twitter, there will be a Stardew Valley 1.7 update. No release date, no estimate, but it's happening. And that's all he wrote. But then he also wrote a little bit extra in response to someone asking if this is going to affect Haunted Chocolatier, Concerned Ape's next game's development. Concerned Ape wrote, my plan is that this will not hinder Haunted Chocolatier development. So, again, that's all he wrote. Not a lot of information. We don't know what new content is going to be added. We don't know what features, what new stuff. But the fact that this game is still being supported is first off great because it's like a very inherently queer game, even if it's player sexuality. But also, like, what could they add? I don't even know at this point what they could add. Like, the game is so feature full and feature rich. Like, the only thing I can think of that I would really like to see, that I don't know if it's possible, but it'd be cool if they did, is if they could add non-binary pronoun options or even neo-pronouns as well, which would be really nice. Pretty please, Concerned Ape, if you're listening to this podcast by chance, please find a way to make neo-pronouns possible. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to add, but maybe sound off in the comments on social media or on Spotify what you want to see them add, because I'm very curious to see what kind of features they could possibly add to this game. I think it's already so feature rich and complete, and I honestly think that like as soon as 1.7 is out, we're going to hear about 1.8. As soon as 1.8, we're going to hear about 1.9, and eventually they're going to hit 2.0, and it's probably going to be it'll be a huge update. Like, I think this game is going to be supported for at least another decade, if not more. So, which I think is a good thing. Like, I'm not complaining. All right. We're down to the last two news stories here. We're going to wrap up shortly. So this is the payment processor update and a little bit of extra news that's kind of like adjacent to the payment processor stuff. So a lot of money is being withheld from one particular adult game creator. It's not queer specific, but I think it's going to affect a lot of queer people if people are having their payments withheld. But this story comes from Automaton, and also they're also quoting Reddit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both of these in here. But anyway, from the Automaton article, they wrote, a Steam game programmer claims that PayPal has frozen all of their funds due to alleged violation of the financial platform's terms of service. Around 80,000 British pounds in proceeds were withheld as a result of the programmer's involvement in the development of adult games, as reported by GameSpark. End quote. So just for the record, 80,000 British pounds is about 108,000 US dollars currently. And in Canadian, I think it's 148,000 Canadian, almost 150,000. That's a lot of money. That's like a year's salary for some people. That's like double some people's year's salary. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of money to be withheld from. And I know that's a programmer who's making this money, so it's obviously a lot, but like, just the fact that like PayPal is withholding all of this. Anyway, so it goes a little bit more in detail here from the Reddit post, quoting, for 4+ weeks now, PayPal have refused to release any of my money to me. They interviewed me and asked me where it came from. I said it came from programming work I did for video games. So they asked me where the games were sold. I said Steam. Then they asked me what specific game it was and demanded I link the store page. I've been told that I've violated PayPal's terms of service. Bear in mind, PayPal is very far removed from the actual sales of this game, and obviously it's an off safe for work game. Because I've shrunk down the quote here a little bit. Steam pays lead developer. Lead developer takes money into his corporation. His corporation sends its share of the profits to my corporation's PayPal. I withdraw from that PayPal and into my business bank account. The game we developed is perfectly legal. It doesn't contain any genres that violate UK laws. It's about cheating in relationships, basically. So it would be one thing. First off, this is just bad across the board. Withholding money at all is just like, unless it's like literally like the law. Like, PayPal is not the law. I don't even like cops very much, but like, PayPal are not cops, right? They do not hold any legal power in this world at all. None. Absolutely zero. They are beholden to the same laws that we are, or they at least should be, right? So if it was the police or the courts that were holding up this money for legal reasons, that would be one thing. Like, they broke the law, and making this money was part of breaking the law. Okay, sure. But first off, they shouldn't be withholding any money, though, regardless, right? But also, it would be a different story if they at least paid out that 80,000 and then said, hey, find another way to get your money because we're shutting this down now. So we're giving you what we owe you, what you're owed. But then after, like, they don't even do that. They're not even taking issue with the game. They're taking issue with a programmer who's a freelancer for the game. So this is literally, it sounds to me like this is literally, like there was a phone call made to PayPal's like services, and the person on the phone, who obviously doesn't hold a lot of power, basically said like, oh, I see the game you made, like just judging someone like right off the bat and not helping them at all with their money. I can't believe, and I've reported a few weeks ago too, that like PayPal's customer service has been really nasty to some people, asking for explanations on all of this. So it seems really strange to me how quickly we're all descending into fascism. I was talking to some friends about it last night. These friends are allies, but they are not part of the queer community. And even they're like, what the absolute fuck is happening to society right now? And like, obviously, I think this payment processor censorship stuff is like the tip of the iceberg. I think it's emblematic of everything going on, but it's like the tip of the iceberg for the bullshit we are descending into. We are literally, and again, trigger warning here for like Nazis and World War II and just fascism in general, but like we are descending very quickly into Nazi Germany 2.0 on a global fucking scale. And it is fucking terrifying. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here because everyone listening to this show is probably like, yeah, Zoe, we agree. But like, it's absolutely absurd to me how quickly we're all just like, yep, we're fine with this. Like, even, like, if you've ever wondered what you were doing, what you would have done when the Nazis rose to power, guess what? You are doing it right now. And we are seeing it all in real time. And like, yeah, all our entertainment's going to be affected this time. I think originally in the 40s, when World War II was happening, like, obviously, like, financially speaking, a lot of content was slowed down, but like, movies were still coming out. There was like wartime propaganda and stuff like that, but like, people were still making movies. Things were unhindered. But now with the free marketplace the way it is, like, they're just putting their foot down. And like, it's not just affecting the countries like the UK and the US where these laws are actually a thing, quote unquote laws, right? But like here in Canada, Japan, all these other countries are also getting shit on and those are just two examples. It's literally every country in the world, right? Where these payment processors are now able to just like reach their arms, and even the US government and the UK governments can just reach their arms into any other country and say, oh, well, because the internet is like the whole world, we actually, you affect us. So therefore our word is law. Like, fuck off, Trump. Fuck off, Starmer. Get fucked. Get fucked. That's all I have to say about that. This is my TED Talk. I'm so sorry, True Avatars. I'm just like so fed up with the state of the planet right now, as you can probably tell. Something also suspicious happened as well. There's two more little things here. So from the Automaton article talking about this, they also wrote, earlier last month, users were reporting that PayPal payments in certain currencies have been suspended on Steam. According to the official Steam support page, PayPal reached out to Valve around July 2025, explaining that the bank that handles their payment transactions in certain currencies was immediately terminating the processing of any transactions related to Steam. While no concrete reasons were given for the sudden suspension of the transactions, users suspect that PayPal's actions are likely related to a recent wave of crackdowns on adult games across many digital distribution platforms, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So it's so strange to me that PayPal didn't even give Steam, like Valve, a huge corporation that's like makes a lot of money and probably brings in a lot of money for PayPal, gave no explanation at all. They never said why they were canceling certain transactions. Even if we know what the reason is, and Valve was able to figure out what the reason was. Like, it's just so strange to me that, like, they can just, like, contact a corporation and say, like, yeah, we're stopping, like, payment processing on your platform. We're not going to tell you why, but we're doing it. Which is, anyway, I've already had my spiel on that. There's one more piece of news here, and this comes from Video Games Chronicle. Steam is rolling out the requirement for all users in the UK to verify their age in order to access store pages for games with mature content. So we knew this was coming, obviously in the UK. I think in the US it's coming as well in a lot of states. But now it's specifically, I think before it was like porn, and now it's like Steam. The restriction, I'm quoting from the article again here, the restriction seemingly went into effect on Friday after social media users spotted reference to the requirement on Steam's FAQ. Thankfully, the process to verify your age is straightforward. UK users need only add a credit card to their account. And those who already have one registered will face no restrictions, because obviously you need to be an adult to have a credit card. I'm quoting again from the article here, the age verification requirement comes ahead of the enforcement of a new Online Safety Act in the UK, which makes online platforms responsible for their users' safety, end quote. Sure, whatever. I'm sure you're keeping lots of people safe by gating content behind whatever paywalls or bullshit you have, but sure, the credit card is better than like giving your ID to a service. I think that's good. But also the fact that you have to verify your age at all. Just to have an account on Steam. Like, why not make it so you can't access like the not safe for work content if you're not like, there are ways to do this that are like ethically better. I don't know if I agree with them, but like they're ethically better where you can like gatekeep the like content kids shouldn't access behind it, but like give kids access to the rest of Steam. There's free games they can play on Steam. Imagine as a kid, like before Steam was really a thing, like going to addictinggames.com and like being told like, oh yeah, you need to give your ID here or you can't access any of these games just because like we say so. And like none of the games on there were not safe for work as far as I know. Like it was like I played this bubble shooting game on there. So like imagine I have to go on that website and I have to get my parents to give their ID so I can access the games because like I don't have ID. I'm a kid. Like I was 10, right? Like anyway, it's all just bullshit all the way down. And that's pretty much like the articles, the headlines for this week. So when I get back after this short musical interlude, I will be back on to discuss Metal Gear Solid Delta and its comparison to Metal Gear Solid 3. Hi, True Avatars, and welcome back from the break. Joining me is Betty, a bisexual woman whose pronouns are she, her. Betty was previously on episode 26, where we discussed retro game collecting. Hi, Betty. How are you?
I'm all right. Enjoying the long weekend. How are you?
I'm also enjoying the long weekend. It's a little busier than I had hoped, but still good. Lots of Metal Gear.
Yeah, same.
And Betty has also brought her partner, Keenan, on the show. Keenan's pronouns are he, him, and if it wasn't obvious, he is an ally to the queer community. Hi, Keenan. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, also busy weekend.
Also playing MGS.
Also MGS.
Awesome. Yeah, well, it's a big Metal Gear Solid episode this week. So we're going to be talking about the freshly released remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, which is called Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, and comparing it to the original game directed by Hideo Kojima. Betty and Keenan, you've played the original and you've also started the remake like I have, although I think you said you made it to, where did you say you made it to in the remake?
To just finish up the Virtuous mission.
Okay. So that's much earlier than I think I made it way past that, I think. Because
Okay.
like I've fought Ocelot for the first time, and anyway, we're gonna get into this, but we're gonna try to avoid spoilers as much as possible. We're probably talking about like the first 8 to 10 hours of the game, including the original as well. But we don't if anything, if there's a spoiler, we'll just flag it before we say it, and you can just jump ahead like 30 seconds, a minute till the spoiler is over. And yeah, we'll just compare notes on what we've played of the remake, and maybe you both can also share some thoughts on how the original compares as well, because that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it sounds great. So, because also spoilers and everything, because I think this is your first playthrough of it, correct?
That's right. I've never played a single Kojima game in my life, let alone Metal Gear.
Okay.
So I mean, I personally, like, if anyone's listening to the show and they've never played a Kojima game, like, I know his personality in the media, but like, it really shows. Like, everything about him really shows through, even in this remake. It's, like, really wild to, like, see everything. And also, this is my first thought, is, like, he clearly has a type. Like, a type of woman that he's very attracted to. Because, like, I was like, oh, he really likes to put blondes in his games. And then I realized, like, also this game has a lot of blonde women in it.
I don't know if it's so much the type of women he's attracted to. I think it's more like tropes of women. Because, I don't know if Kojima's attracted to women, actually.
Yeah,
I mean, he finds them beautiful, but like, I don't know, because it's like the brown hair, like, I guess what I'm thinking about is the women in Death Stranding and how they're characterized versus like...
I mean, Meryl's a redhead. But, he's a lot of blondes. I mean, also takes place in Russia, so that's also a factor in all of this. And
Ocelot is also blonde, I guess.
Yes, and spoilers. So because I don't want to spoil anything for you. So you were saying that you got to around the first Ocelot fight. Is that?
Oh, so okay, yeah, I made it to Ocelot. I fought the Pain, the bee dude. Who I have so many thoughts on the bee dude. That's where that's where the game I went. Oh, this is Final Fantasy meets James Bond.
I guess, yeah. I don't know, just to kind of circle back using corporate speak here. You were talking about how this is the first Kojima game you played, Zoe. It's funny, because it's the first Kojima game I ever played fully also. Before this, I played MGS2, but I got a lot of help from Magnus here. And then before that, I watched him play MGS1 like a bunch of times. I later went back and revisited those games, but like this was the first one that I actually fully played through, and it was on the DS, and I cried on the TTC while playing it.
Yeah,
Mm.
We've all been there, playing our DS games on the TV, everything.
But okay, yeah. So getting into the Pain, because there's just a handful of kind of Kojima is full of tropes. The Pain being part of the kind of the team that you fight in this game. There's always like a Power Ranger type squad of guys. MGS1, it was Foxhound. MGS2, it was Dead Cell. 3, it's the Cobras. I mean, and that's something that is also kind of continued into Death Stranding and whatnot as well. It's less clearly defined and organized, but there is still that kind of like there's the bones of that trope are still around. So yeah, and the theming around the emotions and whatnot. Pain's a lot of fun.
There are bees.
And also is a crazy guy throwing bees at you and bee grenades. So, I guess to kind of also focus in on one of the main themes on this podcast. So how are you finding Ocelot?
He's gay, right? He's got to be snake.
Well, again, I'm just interested to hear your thoughts, because I mean, I can speak from my side. With,
I also have a lot of feelings.
Yeah, everything that there is, but because Ocelot, again, for people who aren't kind of familiar with the series, because Metal Gear Solid 3 is a prequel. It takes place about 50 or so years before the start of Metal Gear 1. And Ocelot is kind of a through-line character. He's kind of a background, evil, kind of schemy torture guy in the first one, but for some reason he's also a cowboy. It's a bit of a character. And then, without spoiling too much, but turns out that, oh no, there's conspiracy. He's involved in far more than it appears. It's a very central figure in 2. So when you see him in 3, him being young and this is all kind of before he got involved in everything that kind of the rest of the series is framed on, it's just a very interesting take. And then, seeing how he's depicted in 3, it does help account for a lot of his actions that happen through 1 and 2. Okay. So again, that's why I'm really interested in what your view on him is with only the perspective of how we're meeting him through the beginning of 3.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, not to trivialize Ocelot's character in general, but does he meow when he's older, or is that just a young Ocelot?
Okay, that was my next question, is the meowing. That's why, what?
He just did that when he was young and beautiful.
Fair enough.
When he wasn't an old mustachioed, ponytailed cowboyman.
But what did you think of Ocelot?
Well, I mean, my first thought was like, okay, he meowed, and he's like, okay, so the vibe I get, the comparison I can make is that because I see a lot of Final Fantasy, like Shinra, like the Shinra executives and how like eccentric they all are and how different they are. I was comparing Shinra to, I think they're called the Cobras. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
So to the Cobras, and like at this point I'd only met Ocelot, so I just assumed like he was like kind of like the main villain. But in Final Fantasy VII, there's a character called Roche who's like obsessed with Cloud. Like he's like this like rival character. He's also blonde. He's also very eccentric. He's a little fruity, and all he wants to do is fight the main character. And so when I met Ocelot, I was like, oh, he's just Roche with extra steps. And I'm not sure. I think Roche probably came first, and then Ocelot came after. But the meow just caught me so off guard because up until you meet Ocelot in the game, you're playing a James Bond game. Effectively, you're like, it's like a stealth game. It's pretty grounded, and then like this dude comes out of nowhere and just meows. You haven't even seen him yet, and you just hear this really, really yassified meow.
And he's like really into it too. He's like no, you know what? Honestly, props to Ocelot. Like the man has not known a cringy moment in his life.
Yeah.
He meows his way through it.
So but also I think you touched on a really good point there. The hard contrast between the really grounded nature of things and then the kind of just ridiculous or this like over the top, that is like such a Kojima trope. Yeah. Because going from Metal Gear Solid 1, on the PS1 and everything, the fact that it had weapons that were real and made allusions to real military tactics and things like that, had this kind of presentation of being, it's so realistic, it's so grounded, and then you just have and then here's a psychic guy, and then he just nonsense kind of scattered in through that. So that's just a real Kojima thing. Loves kind of grounding you with the story and the setting. I mean, also at this point, the hours and hours of kind of stock world 1960s footage that
I was going to bring that up. It's like there's all this stuff with they explain the Cold War, they explain World War II and how it led to the Cold War and all this stuff, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually really informative and interesting. I never thought about it this deeply, because the Cold War doesn't interest me as much as World War II does. So I was learning stuff, and I was like, oh, this is very grounded. I'm in for a really kind of grounded, gritty game, and then this dude meows
and flips his revolvers at you. Mm-hmm. I guess at that point
he spends hours in the cutscene spinning his revolvers around.
Okay,
dude is showing off.
Another fun Ocelot thing is that he gets more guns every game. Sorry, to be clear, because for the first game he's called Revolver Ocelot. They all had there's the teammates part of it's Psycho Mantis, Revolver Ocelot, Vulcan Raven. That's kind of the naming convention. Sniper Wolf. That's kind of the convention with their naming. So he's the guy with the revolver.
He's an Ocelot.
And then in Metal Gear Solid 2, it's a sequel because he has 2 revolvers. And then, maybe slight spoilers, but by the time that you encounter Ocelot again, he ends up with 3 revolvers. And then by Metal Gear Solid 4, there's a whole other thing that involves the rest of the conspiracy that I can't even begin to touch on, because even if you've played Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 2 is the kind of one that helps explain a fair degree of the the lore of what's going on in the background, what is all the secrets, geopolitics of this world, which then 3 has small kind of allusions to, and then 4, because it was supposed to be the end of the series, kind of just walks up and dumps the bag out, and it's like, here's the answers to everything. Anything you ever wondered, here's the answer to it. Kojima just wants to stop making these games. Can I go home now? And then they made him make 2 more games, and then he quit. But point is how, yeah.
Quit's a strong word. He technically got fired, right? Like, Konami kind of screwed him over.
Well, it's a mix of things. I mean, well, because it's, you know, yes, I think they technically did fire him, but I mean, he was pushing back since the end of Metal Gear Solid 3. So essentially, which came out in 2005. So he was trying to insist on not making any more of these games since 3. He also wanted it to end after 2. But the thing is, 2 made a whole boatload of money, so then he's like, okay, fine, I'll go do another one. Did 3. 3 was nowhere near the sales success that 2 was. So then they were like, you made a failure, so make another one. And he's like, okay. Then did 4. 4 was kind of, and I mean, I quite enjoy 4, but it's pretty agreed that 4 is one of the low points in the series. Again, it's a good game and everything, but just kind of in comparison to the others, bit of a low point. And just because like he's so clearly tired with the series at that point, and he's just trying to come up with reasons, like trying to write himself into a corner so he doesn't have to stop, he doesn't have to write anymore. And then they made him make yet more games. Point is, after 4, he was trying to do more different things. You know, Peace Walker is quite different game, and 5, at very least, he was emotionally invested in it, but it also, yeah, the whole thing was just very troubled, and that's why, again, like, the game shipped unfinished. The story just stops. It doesn't really tie up at the end. They just stopped making the game, and then that's how much game you get to play.
I think, like, playing through the games also, you can kind of tell that, like, after 3 does seem like the climax. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously not chronologically, but like in the game and stuff, just when you're playing it, because it does feel like his heart's not in it from 4 onwards. Like, it feels different. There's a different vibe.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool because really, like, you can, like, the whole everything that gets kind of explained in 4 and then added it, you know, kind of fleshed out in Peace Walker, and then really kind of brought all together in 5. All of those events are kind of like inferred from by the ending of 3. If you've played 1, 2, and 3, pretty much by the time that you get to the end, you can more or less it's, you know, it's the difference between, you know, like, showing as opposed to telling. Like, you know, it's like, okay, you kind of
there's that too, like,
where things are going from the end of 3, and then it's like, okay, here, let's spend 3 more games to minutely explain out every piece of this. And there's some good things in there, but sorry, please.
No, I was gonna say, let's we could talk about Kojima all day. I want to specifically talk about Metal Gear Solid 3 and Delta and your experience with it, because at the beginning of the game, like, there's a whole bunch of accessibility options, like, that are all amazing. Like, there's, like, so much stuff in there that I was just like, oh, this is really cool. Like, it asks you, like, have you played one of these games before? Like, which games have you played? Like, it's like, I don't know how much is actually tailoring your experience based on that, but, like, I got a lot of exposition, so maybe it did tell me more information. But it also gives you the option to either play the game modern style, like an Uncharted or a Last of Us, the way those stealth games work, but it also lets you play in the classic style. So I'm really curious, like, now that you've started playing it, which playstyle did you pick?
So I chose the new style just because, I wanted to see what they did. I mean, with so much of the game, it being just a shot-for-shot remake with the same voice acting, same everything, I wanted to see kind of what new they brought in. So yeah, went for the new control style. And the question about, like, which Metal Gear games that you like, that's actually a series trope. That's they pretty much all do that.
Oh, okay.
I think they get you in that. They got me in that with in 2. In 4.
Well, I believe it was 3.
Was it 3?
Yeah, 3, because you had just come off of playing 2.
Yeah, okay, sorry, because these games are chronologically all over the place, and I've played multiples of these Metal Gear Solid games. I can't keep them fucking straight in my head. Like, what happened in which game? Which has the opening? It's 3, where you start off in a plane and you tell them which is your favorite game. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so I picked 2. And I did the first bit as Raiden in a Raiden mask. Yeah. So that was fun.
So just to kind of jump in there, because yes, they kind of tie little Easter eggs and whatnot to which one that you choose. I think in this, in 3, in Delta, I believe it affects your loadout. But I mean, again, that's just another kind of series trope. But like the depth of details and Easter eggs and everything is just endless, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to kind of keep everything straight in your brain about like this game, this affects this, but anyways, sorry, comparing the two. The new play style. Which is that how you're going through it, or?
Yeah, I chose the new play style just because the way I've played stealth games has always been that kind of style. And I'm actually not a big fan of stealth games, actually. So I think for me, this might be sacrilegious to hear as a Metal Gear Solid fan, but I'm not really a fan of the gameplay. But I think the characters and the story are way too interesting to stop playing. And you can't change the... sometimes I'm having trouble with the difficulty, but you can't change the difficulty after you started the game, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how it normally goes, and I haven't seen anything in Delta that says otherwise. So did you just select normal then, or are you doing?
I selected normal.
Okay, fair. No, and normal, that's a good way to play through it. They give you a lot of good options and whatnot on that.
I'm pretty sure I chose easy the first time I played it.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm a weenie.
No, but like honestly, like normal, like I guess because there's some games where it's like, oh, you're really missing something, you put it on an easier difficulty, but not too much of that, I would say, in Metal Gear Solid.
Like as Zoe was saying, honestly, like I'm in it for the story. Like the controls, I'm not enough of a hashtag gamer girl to like comment on, oh, this controls well, this controls poorly. Like as long as it's not stupidly difficult, I'll be fine. But the story in here is, that's everything.
Just in terms, as long as we're talking about kind of differences, gameplay wise, adding crouch walking to Metal Gear Solid 3, because that's one of the main kind of control things that's different, I believe, both in the original and in the revised controls that they have on here. They add crouch walking, which is essentially the in between when you're standing straight up and crawling on the ground. That was not in the first Metal Gear Solid 3. They added that in 4, and it's just such a good gameplay element that it's kind of like retcon. Like when they remade this on the 3DS, they added in crouch walking as well. And so I'm glad to see that it's here. And I do think that just fully benefits it, because Metal Gear Solid, always has like a bit of a clunky control scheme. That is just kind of the case, because I mean, it was inventing third-person action games and everything, and by 3, it's all kind of built on the bones that started on the PS1. So it's
it still felt like there was a little bit of that though in the game. Like when you're swimming and like if you're moving and there's like an action command that you can kind of like press into, like for example, like if you're swimming and you want to dive, like you have to stop moving to then press the X button to then dive down. Which I did find a little clunky. Yeah, because like this is like a full-on remake, and they could have fixed that, but I'm not sure if that's like intentional.
Yeah, it is interesting what choices they've made, or essentially the kind of like the dearth of absence of choices that they made. Like I definitely feel that. I mean, because in the end, there's no kind of getting around the fact that this is a remake made by Konami, and it's a cash grab. It fully is, because Konami has not been in the business of actually making games. They've been making pachinko for decades at this point, and them being uninterested in making games or making new games is a big part of why Kojima left them almost a decade ago at this point. And they're like, so now that they've kind of looped back and they've remade Silent Hill 2, they've and Metal Gear Solid 3 now, it feels that they're mostly interested in just they're not interested in taking risks, it feels like. They're just interested in...
They've got the new Silent Hill coming out in a month, actually. The Silent Hill F, which looks pretty good. They're not developing that in-house, but they did commission that and pay for it.
And I'm very interested to find out how that goes. So it's an interesting period in time with them, but just what I'd say that like it seems like they're concerned about, because I guess it feels like essentially they are opening themselves up to the criticism of anything that they do can be looked at negatively and be said, well, if Kojima was still there, it wouldn't be like this. Kojima would never make this choice. And so to try and hide from that, they're just like, hey, it's exactly the same. You know, it's also, I had to laugh in the opening credits how the opening title crawl, they have, instead of like the directed by Hideo Kojima, they hit you with the original directed by Hideo Kojima.
Original directed.
It's pretty.
Can we talk about the intro? Because like, and the intro was my first hint that this game was not going to be just straight up like a James Bond kind of like, not rip off, but like homage, because it felt very serious up until that point. And then there's this like these like snake skeletons dancing along the screen. This like poor like
I don't know
early
those
2000s CGI.
The intro is so James Bond, like even in its CGI to me, like it's just it's trying so like I don't know it's. What we say, Kian and I to each other, it's a reference to an anime called Sayonara Zetsubou Sensei, where he says, this can't possibly be the case. There's too much evidence. So that's like my thing with Snake Eater being a James Bond game. It can't possibly be. They're being too obvious about it.
I mean, and the fact that the game is not like a straightforward like that. No, it's fully aware. It is absolutely in on the joke. Is a big part of it. Thing actually, just to throw in, have you been spending much time on the codec, having conversations with your like support team?
So yes, but only when I save.
Okay.
I haven't been calling anyone else, but I've been calling the save. I can't remember her name, the save girl. And every time I finish saving, we talk about movies, which I love.
Paramedic.
Cool.
Yeah, Paramedic's great. I would throw that in there. Do more of that, because again, this is one of these things that was kind of how games kind of built on the PS1 bones, but there's a lot of like having conversations with your team that's kind of a trope through all of the game. So there's sort of that expectation that like, oh, you just know you're supposed to call them. But particularly if you're invested in the story, just anytime you're like, I just feel bored, just sit down and just exhaust the dialogue options. That's what I would say. There's so much in there, and that frankly just helps explain the story, helps explain the setting, fleshes out the characters so much.
I remember my first playthrough, I didn't do too much of that, and it wasn't until I played Peace Walker where like a lot of important information is in like the tapes and stuff that you have to, it's kind of like having conversations. It's the same sort of, you gotta make time and listen to this person talk a bunch, and you get exposition. I don't know, I had to like go back and listen to the MGS3 stuff because I think I missed out on a bunch of stuff my first time around.
Actually, sorry, I know this started a little bit ambiguous or like roundaboutly, but you're mentioning the James Bond thing. The reason I was bringing this up is because with Major Zero, or Major Tom in the first part, like him being an overtly stated James Bond fan. So that's one of the things that when you call him, you're just sitting around talking about James Bond movies a whole bunch of the time. So again, it's very much self-aware, very in on the joke. Sigint, there's a lot of great conversations with him, and it both just adds to the story itself, but then those are the kind of like tendrils that will pull you into the larger lore as well, because there's a lot of things that get mentioned or kind of offhandedly by the various characters during these conversations. That kind of helps you put together like, wait a second, this guy, or the effects of that show up in a different game, or et cetera, et cetera. That like those really help you fill in a lot of the blank spots for if you're interested in the story and you want to understand the lore in its broadest senses.
So Betty, I want to ask you, because you previously brought Metal Gear as your queer game of the week. Back in episode 26. So I wanted to talk about like what kind of without spoiling too much, like what kind of queerness can I expect from like who's gay and who's bis. Like I
can't tell you who's gay, Zoe. That's not for me to say. But what I can tell you is that there are a lot of characters that are ambiguous, and I don't know.
Fulgen,
right? I guess again, it's one of those things. Like who isn't gay? But Volgan, for sure. Lots a lot. Snake.
Major Zero, I was getting some bisexual vibes from him.
Not confirmed, but yeah, I mean, that's certainly, like, there's definitely nothing
I wouldn't be mad.
That.
I wouldn't be mad if Ava were, some kind of queer.
Yeah. But I mean, just in terms,
very, very forward with her sexuality. Like, she introduces herself with her top down to Snake.
I mean, but
we love to see it.
Yeah, because it's like I just want like it's essentially like sexuality as like posturing is also like a big like it's interesting because like Snake always being kind of framed on. Sorry, but yeah, please go ahead.
It's fine. I don't know. I just like the queer stuff is. I guess like it also builds on with like as the games go. It's hard for me to contextualize so much just in MGS3 because like Snake's character has this whole development. Ocelot has this whole development. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say like exactly who is queer and who isn't. A lot of characters are kind of queer coded. That'll become clear as you play through the game. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I can't really remember what the deal with like. This might get into. Never mind. This probably won't get into spoilers. But the guy who's like hidden. What's his name? The villain. He's like underground.
The invisible dude.
Yeah, the invisible guy.
Oh my god, I don't remember his name. I just met him though. Like I watched him bounce off into the night. It was very funny. Snake literally jumps right over Snake looking for him.
Yeah, to me, like he also kind of came across as queer. Nothing is overtly stated, but that's just like my opinion, man. You tell me what you think once you're done. Yeah.
I love that about the game, and that there's like all this like overt and like subtle queerness to everything, and it's just like all the characters are so wacky and weird. And then like something else I wanted to ask you about, because I'm like, they're talking about Snake like he's like a child, like in his like development and his skills, and like the way he's kind of like the boss's puppy in a lot of ways, like
yeah.
But like he looks like a 35-year-old man. It's just so jarring for me.
I think it's because like this is the third game in the series and it's a prequel. Like Snake gets grizzled, man. The man has seen some things. He's basically a summer child in the beginning of this game. He hasn't seen anything. He's just an innocent little soldier who's just, naive. And I think in the part that we just finished playing, the virtuous mission, boss even says like he's just so innocent still, and I think that's the case. It's just he hasn't seen enough, and he gets so much more grizzled, so comparatively I feel like he feels like such a baby.
Also, just to jump in from the kind of lore side of things, because Snake in this game is actually a different person than in Metal Gear 1 and 2. Because from Metal Gear Solid 1, it's not really a spoiler because one of these things you find out very early in, but it's that Solid Snake is a clone of this guy called Big Boss. So, and then 2 kind of deals with other clones and whatnot. Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, a whole bunch of cloning things.
Yeah,
so
lots of clones. Which is also why the story is so confusing to me.
Yes. But so then when you're introduced to this character that is, being called Snake, but it's 1960s, it's very overtly, this is not just Snake, this is Big Boss when he was young, and he was Snake when he was young. So like the idea of it being like, oh no, this is an origin, this is right at the beginning, and also because like there's a fair bit of difference in character between Big Boss at this point, essentially his kind of first mission versus where Big Boss goes, because he was effectively the big villain during the MSX Metal Gear 1 and 2 from the 80s.
Yeah.
So he's this kind of like legendary figure that we've only kind of, heard like in hushed tones and whispers and whatnot. So seeing him in this, he's very young and he's frankly like a lot lighter and jokier and more fun.
He is. I'm re-remembering this like as we're going through it, that he is so much more like jokey and lighthearted about a lot of things, like even his conversations with like on the radio.
So yeah, it is and again, spoilers, not going to talk about the rest of the game, but that's kind of like the tragedy kind of hanging over the entire game, like the tension, like, well, where is this going? Like, how do we get from this guy to Big Boss, who is this kind of almost like MacGuffin of this kind of legendary evil dude, the legendary mercenary.
He must not be named.
Yeah. So that sort of tone to him. So yeah, it's it's interesting. But on the other hand, yes, you look at him and it's just this full grown-ass man.
Okay, what I will also say, I'll take this opportunity to put this in. No one else may think this, but I'm sitting here playing through Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the rehashing of Snake, and I don't know if it's like they had to redo the character models a little bit to compensate for the change in quality or what, but Snake has weirdly chubby cheeks, and I can't get over it. He looks even more like a baby, so I don't know if that's adding to it, because I don't remember him having like little baby chubby cheeks when I was playing this the first time around. Also, another person's appearance that is slightly different is Ocelot. He's a lot more like anime looking in this version. I think it's like just a lot more pointy and handsome Squidwardy. Yeah, I don't know. Magnus thinks it looks good on him, but I'm a little bit weirded out. He doesn't.
My only frame of reference for Snake, and sorry to cut you off, is that I only know all this stuff from mostly Smash Bros. And like cultural osmosis.
Right.
So I'm wondering, I'm curious, like, I know that Smash Bros. Is like kind of nebulous in continuity and canon, like whatever, but like, if you had to name which version of Snake is in Smash Bros., is it this one from Metal Gear Solid 3?
Okay, can I go first? Because because Magnus will probably actually know the answer to this, but I have a guess. My guess is that it's Peace Walker. I think it's Peace Walker Snake.
No. Sorry, because Peace Walker wasn't out when Smash Brothers when he first appeared in Brawl. It's Solid Snake is who's in Brawl or in Smash Brothers. And the first instance of him, the reason I keep on referencing Brawl is because they actually added in codec conversations between like where you can call up your support team on the radio. And it's Snake calling up Colonel, who is the support guy from Metal Gear Solid 1. Right. He's the equivalent of Major Zero, effectively. Because the support team, there's always like a whole new cast that gets introduced. There's, the girl that saves for you there, who was Mei Ling in the first one. There's the supporting officer, Colonel or Major Zero, et cetera, but yeah, it's Solid Snake. It's like Metal Gear Solid 1 kind of era Snake.
Okay, yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's because like I didn't play or didn't register Snake was a character back in Brawl, because I didn't know who this man was. So it wasn't until which one was it that he made a comeback in?
Ultimate,
yeah. That I'm like, oh shit, Snake, I know who that is. I'm excited for this. And maybe because of that timing, I was like, oh, probably Peace Walker.
That was probably what you were playing recently.
Yeah.
I mean, also because you were...
I think he was almost in Melee too, actually. So I just want to put that out there randomly, random detail that I know.
Oh, he is?
No,
he was almost going to be in Melee in Super Smash Bros. Melee, because Kojima famously, the reason there's third-party characters at all in Smash Bros. Is because Kojima begged Masahiro Sakurai, because they were friends, to put him in Melee, and at that point the game was like going gold and was ready to ship, and he couldn't. So he held on to that until Brawl, and at which point they were like, well, if we're going to add Snake, we should also add Sonic.
Fair. Sonic and Snake.
So we're just about almost at time, but I'm curious, based on what you've played so far of your playthrough up to Virtuous Mission, how, like, any other final thoughts or feelings or things you're looking forward to in the game?
I'm looking forward to more Ocelot, honestly. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to the banter between... I don't know, I have to say this. The Snake just... shitting on Ocelot about his guns makes me laugh every time. Like, I don't know, it's such a power move. It's and Ocelot actually goes and like blushy cheeks does the thing that Snake was making fun of him for, like gets better guns, and it's like, dude, you're actually still doing this stuff like that he's telling you. You're being offended in front of him as a show, but you're still going and taking this advice. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And also stuff with the villains, because they're really cool.
From my side, I'm kind of interested in just some of the later, more open areas, just because, again, part of why I'm going through it with the new control scheme is just kind of to see how that gameplay works in later areas like Krasnygrad, where it is a bit more of a sandbox. and when you kind of have all the tools at your disposal, you have the non-lethal things and whatnot. I'm interested in kind of messing around with that. I'm also quite interested in the what the online will end up being like, because
true, there's an online aspect.
Yeah, because the kind of online aspects of Metal Gear have always existed in the series since 3 on the PS2. But again, you had to have the modem and PS2 internet connectivity, which I didn't, and I don't think an awful lot of people did. So I'm just interested to see what that ends up being like when they relaunch that.
Yeah,
Are you playing on PS5?
Playing on my PC.
So can I ask what characters do they have in the PC version? Because on PlayStation, it's the Ape Escape and Astrobot characters.
I don't know. I haven't dug into that yet. Because again, I basically went through Virtuous Mission. Ape Escape is on here. They have the Ape Escape missions, but I haven't dug in too much into what the bonus stuff is.
Yeah.
Sorry, Betty, I cut you off earlier too.
No, I don't. No, you're completely fine. I literally cannot remember what I was going to say.
That's fair. Well, where can people find you?
On Twitch or Instagram, and the handle is the same for both. It's Escape from the City, but escape is spelled like the escape key on your keyboard, so it's ESC from the city. Maybe we're going to stream Metal Gear Delta, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Normally we stream like retro games on the Dreamcast. Currently doing Elite. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you both for joining me. I know I feel like we could talk forever about Metal Gear Solid Delta, but maybe we can check in again when we've both played through the rest of the game.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I'm definitely going to be sinking a lot of time into this.
Yeah, and I'm excited to play more.
Yeah, me too. And like just go through it again. And a few of our friends have started playing this too, so it's going to be nice to actually be there when the game has released and everyone's hyped for it, because both Magnus and I tend to not buy games at launch, except for this one. So,
well, a whole new generation is going to be playing this, so there's going to be a lot more Metal Gear Solid fans, and I'm sure within the coming weeks you're going to see a lot of people asking for remakes of 1, 2, and then they've also got those collections. They're supposed to do another collection with Volume 2 with 4, 5, and I think Peace Walker is maybe the other game that's supposed to be in that collection. Mm-hmm. So
cool.
Yeah, I mean, and in terms of remakes, like, because there's been one remake of Metal Gear Solid 1 already, remade in the MGS2 engine, but like a full in this kind of stuff, like effectively remakes of Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, where they take a little bit more further steps, maybe if they get a little bit more adventurous, I think would be quite interesting. I think adding some of the, at least the gameplay elements from that kind of started in 3 and carried onwards, and bringing those back into 1 and 2, I think it'd be interesting to see. I feel like that would be something where Konami would be presenting something that isn't just kind of like a new skin for what we have. So yeah, I hope this does well, and I hope we end up with things like that. But yeah, I think that's all discussion for a later time.
I want more handsome Squidward Ocelot. That's what I want.
Yes, more of that.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for
having us. Thank you for having us. I hope you have a lovely rest of your long weekend.
You too. Thanks to your avatars for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. If you've made it this far into the episode, I really appreciate you taking the time to support queer-made content. If you want to support the show, it would be really great if you could leave a rating, review, or comment on your preferred podcast platform. I welcome you to check out the website trueavatarspodcast.com, all one word. That's trueavatarspodcast.com. You can also find the show on Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube under the handle @trueavatars, all one word, and on Instagram under trueavatars. Importantly, if you or anyone you know is queer and involved with video games in some way, please don't be shy. I would love to hear from more queer voices in video games. Your voice is unique and valid and worth sharing with the world. And if you don't want to be on the show or know anyone who's interested, but you know about a cool queer video game or a games industry story that's queer related, please let me know. The show's official email is trueavatars.podcast@gmail.com. That's trueavatars.podcast@gmail.com. You can also feel free to reach out via the website or the aforementioned social media pages. Things are tough out there, and queer people need to stick together when we can. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Take care and stay safe.